Mike, thanks so much for joining me or letting me be out here at one of Perdue's farms. It's been a great education, which is kind of the point of this particular farm. Let's talk a little bit about a couple things, but let's start with the animal care program at Perdue, starting, maybe not go way back, but let's start with the development of that as a formality. I know it's been a few years in the making. Give me some of the background on that and how Perdue has approached animal care over the last few years.
Sure. So, first off, we are a 100-year-old company, and I've been in the business 37 years, started as a flock advisor. So starting as a flock advisor, even 37 years ago, I used to tell people that I was an animal welfarist, because the better the animals are treated, the better their environment, the better they're going to perform. So we've been that way, and that's always been our motto. But in 2016, actually a couple years before 2016, we really realized that the general public really was elevating and had a lot more questions about how animals were being raised. So we started working on our processes and our pillars, that we called it, for animal care. And we kind of announced that in 2016. So in 2016, our 4 pillars became the chickens, the farmers, it became transparency and continuous improvement. And what we said as an overarching deal with that is that if the chickens had a choice who they wanted to be raised by, we'd want them to be raised by. We want the chickens to say, I want to be raised by Perdue. And we want all of our farmers to say, if I'm going to partner with somebody, I want to partner with Perdue. And then, of course, transparency has been a big issue for farmers. And the big issue's been is they said, I've been doing this for multiple generations. I know what I'm doing. They kind of closed their farm gates, and they said, trust me. Well, this public today says, with the internet and everything going on, I don't know if I trust you. So we really had to push farmers to open the farm gates to let them see all the great things they were doing. And of course, if you don't have continuous improvement, that's a motto of the company's always been, we always want to learn, we always want to get better. So continuous improvement was a perfect 4th pillar for us.
So let's talk about that continuous improvement, specifically with having to do with some of the enrichments for the chickens in the house. You guys approached it a little bit differently by involving your farmers in those enrichments. Give me some background on that and talk about the program you created for the enrichments.
Sure. So, listen, we're not much of a company without our farmers. They spend all their time on the farms raising the animals, and people forget to ask them what their views and what they think about. So a lot of companies had these ideas of what enrichment should be for the chickens, but they never asked the farmers. So we decided about 3 years ago to hold a chicken enrichment contest with our farmers. And we said, hey, farmers, you're here every day. Would you please would you come up with some ideas for a better enrichment? And it was amazing what we had. We had over 33 farmers actually turn in enrichments, and we boiled that down to the top 5. We brought those farmers in, they displayed it. Temple Grandin was actually one of the judges, and we picked a winner. And what was really cool when you watched this was the farmer said, hey, I'm picking these up every day, I'm moving them around, I see the ones you have, the chickens don't quite use them. And all of a sudden, we came up with these enrichments that both it was easier for the farmers and better for the birds, which is what you get when you ask the people that are the experts.
And talk about some of the winning designs, if you will. What were they, and what was the success rate, I guess, of those enrichments, if you will?
Sure. Well, the winner, it was called the Carpenter Bench. It was a farmer and his family put this together. They're from North Carolina, and they used their last name. It was the Carpenter Bench, and it was hooked to the wall, and it would flip up, so they didn't have to carry it around. The chickens would walk up. What we found is the chickens wanted to be elevated. They wanted to be off the litter, but they wanted to be level. They didn't want to be on an angle. They don't perch. People think chickens are like birds. They're just going to perch on the tree. They're not. But they like to get up in the air. So it won the contest, and even then the farmer wasn't happy. So with that farmer, we went ahead and helped them redesign it, even to make it to work even better. And now every one of our free range houses has a Carpenter Bench in it. So, which has been pretty cool, and they're pretty proud of that, and we're proud for what they came up with.
Did you know going in that the chickens would like it as much as they do, or it just kind of happened that way?
No, that was the key. That was the fun of the contest. Is we learned a lot, and the farmers taught us that. They showed us that, with when you saw all 16 of the different enrichments, that generally the more level they were, the better the chickens liked it. So that was what we learned from it.
Kind of a wild card question around the enrichments. Was there any radical material design or material use that stood out that was interesting? You mentioned, some of these enrichments, that the traditional enrichments were heavy, things like that. Were there any unique designs with regard to that type of thing?
Well, I think one of the fun one was there was a farmer that he really, really talked about how heavy they were and how it was wearing him out. And we have a picture on our website. It used to be on the website of him standing there holding his enrichment with one finger, and it was all balanced on his finger. So he was bound and determined to make something that was effective, but was also easier on the farmer. And then there was crazy ones. There was disco balls. There was strings, and so there was a lot of crazy ones. So the creativity of farmers is amazing, and we just got to keep unleashing that creativity.
So last question around that is, how else are you engaging the farmers in terms of those types of, not necessarily competitions, but feedback loops, if you will, and kind of Purdue's Yelp for farmers, if you will,
Yeah,
I guess.
well, it's half my job. So I'm not only the chief animal care officer, I'm also the farmer relationship advocate. I have 18 farmer councils all over the country, and we meet twice a year. And those 8 farmers will spend more or less 2.5 years with me. And we're 4-hour meetings, and we spend a lot of time getting their feedback. We tell them it's an open discussion. There's, and what we've learned in those meetings is we work really hard for the farmers, but a lot of times we don't take the time to understand what their business is and how our decision affects their business. So the feedback they give us, now we can implement plans with them that really match their business and they're happy with it. And then we both can move forward for what's best for the chickens.